All right, so the Boston Celtics just pulled off an amazing game two victory, clutch victory against the Mavericks to go up 2-0 on the series. So if you were watching this game, late in the fourth quarter, Dallas does their job to make like this effort to come back into the game and they have a little bit of momentum, then it all comes down to a transition play. So Kyrie has the ball in transition, feeds it to PJ Washington, who has a look for like a layup or a dunk. Would have been a huge possession to make it a one possession game. It would have put Dallas in great position to potentially win it if they're able to come down the other end and get a stop. But Derrick White and Jaylen Brown recover very well to make an amazing defensive play. They block it, and that pretty much put the game away. So a lot of things to talk about, right? I think I'm going to start here with Boston because there are a lot of complaints I have for Dallas, but with this Celtics team, they did not shoot the three ball well. So that was the most glaring thing. Game one, they shot the three ball at a very high level. It was like a signature Boston Celtics game where they're getting up, I think, around 42 or 43 3-point shots, which is around their average on the season, and they're making them at a very high clip. I think they shot it like 38% from three. This game, they were limited to 39 attempts, which is lower than what they're usually getting, and they only made 10. But still, with only making 10 3-pointers and being severely limited in the first half and really also maybe in the first three quarters from a three-point shooting perspective, even though they kind of woke up from three in the third quarter. With that, there wasn't a point in time during this game where you felt like Dallas had the upper hand. So the biggest strength here for the Celtics is their ability to knock down three-point shots, to generate high volume, but high efficiency three-point looks, and to make those. That got limited, and still, with that strength being taken away, they still looked dominant. This is such a good team, and they were able to kind of carry themselves throughout this game with their defense. It wasn't like a stellar Broadway offensive performance, right? They were able to do what they were able to do because of the defense they played. Obviously, Luka was going to be able to get his. He had another amazing individual game, but the defense on Kyrie Irving was just next level. They went with Jrue on him, Derrick White on him. Derrick White had a ridiculous block on a Kyrie layup attempt, I believe, in the first quarter. They even had Jaylen Brown on him, who had some really good possessions. Jayson Tatum had an amazing defensive possession where he actually forced a turnover on Kyrie in the fourth quarter. This team defensively was just so good. We knew Luka was going to get his. I said that, but just being able to limit Kyrie Irving took out a major chunk of their offense. When Kyrie's not in rhythm, it's tough for Dallas to get it going, even when their other role players are making shots. So they had a pretty good game from PJ Washington. They had some solid moments from Derrick Jones Jr. Those two guys played a lot better than what they did in game one. They got better contributions out of Derrick or Daniel Gafford as well. But even with that, with Kyrie not playing well, Kyrie not playing in rhythm, a major chunk of that Mavericks offense was just taken out. The Mavericks don't win this series. They don't win games this series if both Kyrie and Luka are not in rhythm. It's not a thing where one or two of those guys can have it going. Both of them have to have it going. And they just took Kyrie completely out of the game. It was an uncharacteristic game and really an uncharacteristic first two games for him because I'm operating under this assumption that there's no way you can stop Kyrie Irving, right? That's my mentality coming into this series. I know we kind of had a couple of rough shooting games through this postseason so far, but still, I haven't seen Kyrie Irving play like this, right? I've never seen him play this bad, and I think he's going to be able to recover. But the job that their perimeter defenders did on him just really stagnated this Mavericks group and also their offense in general. So I said this before the series even got started. Dallas is going to play a very heliocentric style of basketball. It worked in the first three rounds. It worked against Minnesota. It worked against Oklahoma City, and it worked in the first round. But this Celtics team, there's not one guy out there defensively that they can pick on. So usually what we saw with the Timberwolves series is Luka could kind of pick on Rudy Gobert at times, right? There's nobody on the court right now that Luka can pick on defensively that's playing for Boston. Nobody. There are possessions where Al Horford's on him, right? Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown. There may be Jrue Holiday or Derrick White. All of those guys can hold up defensively for one possession against Luka. It's much more difficult for him to hunt mismatches with this Celtics team relative to other groups we've seen him match up against in the playoffs. So this brand of basketball they play was successful for the first 3 rounds, but it's going to be different because now you're playing an elite Celtics defense that has everybody who can be very playable from a defensive perspective on the court. Right now, there's not one guy for the Celtics. Maybe outside of Peyton Pritchard, who you can truly not have out there because of his inefficiency or ineffectiveness on the defensive end. There's not a guy like that right now in Boston. And that's what makes them such a threat on the defensive end. All of those guys do such a great job on that side of the basketball. Derrick White was amazing. Jrue Holiday was amazing. This is one of those games where you watch them and you're like, man, this probably is the best defensive backcourt I've ever seen, right? You have the best defensive backcourt going against the best offensive backcourt, and the first 2 games in general, the defensive backcourt, the defensive-minded backcourt has their way, especially tonight where they were just able to completely shut down Kyrie. And he played a little bit better than what he did in game 1, but still no rhythm. And a lot of the stuff was just glaringly bad. The turnovers, all of those things, and even the missed looks that he'd usually make. They just did a good job of taking him out of his rhythm. Back on the offensive end, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Jayson Tatum, right? What he's doing, he wasn't their leading scorer. Jaylen Brown is their leading scorer. He was their leading scorer in game 1. Same deal here. Actually, the leading scorer here for the Celtics was Jrue Holiday with 26 points, but Tatum hasn't scored 20 yet this series. I think he had 16 in game 1. What he's doing from an all-around standpoint is amazing. He had 18 points, 12 assists, and 9 rebounds in this game. So what we're really realizing about Jayson Tatum is this. Maybe he's most optimized as like this Swiss Army knife all-around focused player. For the last couple of years, we've wanted him to be like this late game takeover guy, kind of like a Kobe or whatever the case may be. Those are what the comparisons were. And it always hit this wall. But what we're seeing this particular series, and really throughout this postseason where he hasn't generally shot the ball well, he's established himself as this dude who, if he's not gotten it going from a scoring standpoint, he can do all of the other things well. His defense has been outstanding this entire postseason. His rebounding has been outstanding this entire postseason. Even last postseason, I think he averaged double-digit rebounds. And his passing as well. He's grown so much as a passer. He's taken this leap in his game where he's almost kind of rebranded himself. Yeah, I can score. Yeah, I can take games over when need be, but I can also be this elite level all-around player. This is what his lane is, right? A lot of people, I feel like a lot of players, they're stuck in this lane where they think they're just these score-first guys, and they play that way. Tatum has realized at 26 years old, if I don't have it going from a scoring standpoint, there are so many other things I can be great at to still make an impact on this game. Even when he wasn't scoring at a super high level, even when he got Luka on him as a mismatch, his attacks to the rim just opened up that Celtics offense. We know it's what Boston is going to do. They're going to hunt Luka, try to take advantage of the matchup. If they have an easy shot around the rim or they have a really good mid-range look out of that, they'll take it. But if they don't, best believe they're going to punish those off-ball defenders for maybe overhelping, and they're going to open up those three-point looks either straight off the catch or catch the Mavericks in rotation and punish them there. Jayson Tatum made so many good reads out of that situation, or out of those situations. His all-around play has been just stellar. A lot of conversation was about if he's the best player on this team, but right now a lot of it looks foolish because they're playing this great all-around brand of basketball where all these guys are really playing at a high level. You can't look at Boston and be like, this is their best guy. This is their best guy. Their 2 best players this game were Jaylen Brown and Jrue Holiday. Then in another game, it could be Derrick White and Jayson Tatum. Then another game, it could be Jrue Holiday and Derrick White. Like, that's how they're built. So I don't think it's fair to box this Celtics team into like these conversations where we're arguing who their best guy is. And it's not just Jason Kidd saying it, because I know he said it before the game, but it's been a conversation for a minute. And I think we just look at the Celtics team as a group where you can't say there's one guy who's definitively the best player. I think that's how we have to look at it. So amazing stuff from Tatum, man. He was just off the chain. JB as well. Not just what he's doing on the court, but even his demeanor. It's different, right? It's been different this entire season. The Celtics team knows what time it is. And they're going out there and they're playing with this level of furiosity that we didn't see last year, right? They know the situation and they're responding. For Dallas, as I said, it's going to be tough for them to play the style of basketball where it's really heliocentric. It's really relying upon Luka and Kyrie's one-on-one abilities. It's tough to do that against a team that can switch very, very well and a team that rotates very, very well. It's going to be very tough. And does Jason Kidd have that stuff right now in his coaching bag to throw a monkey wrench in there from an offensive standpoint? What are they going to do there? Right? We can talk about their defense and all of that. They did kind of go with some zone that worked at times. There was one possession, I think, in the fourth quarter. It was an amazing defensive possession they had when they went and ran a zone. But Derrick White, it kind of turned into like this really deep Steph Curry-esque shot by Derrick White that, I mean, you're happy with most of the time. And I don't think he's making that every single time down the court. But they had some solid possessions from a zone perspective. So we could talk about the defense all we want to, but the offense, I said this before, it's going to get stagnated against this team. It's a one-on-one heavy style offense against a team that does not have any weaknesses on the floor defensively. That works when you're matching up against a team that does have a liability out there defensively. That's why Boston is able to pick on Luka. Boston's style of basketball isn't that much different than Dallas' style of basketball. Yeah, they may run more actions, but it's still very heliocentric. They're going to sit there for about 5-6 seconds and do whatever they can do to bring Luka onto the ball and just go one-on-one from there and open up everything else on the court. Same stuff Dallas does. But right now, Boston is built better. So that's what it is. So I think right now, Kidd has to try to figure something out from an offensive standpoint to throw some variety in there. They tried to put Luka off the ball a lot more than what we saw in game one. So he was attacking out of the mid-range area a bit, especially like in that first half. They would let other guys bring the ball up court and kind of try to make Kyrie or Luka work in off-ball situations. So they did throw that variety in there, but still very heliocentric, and it got to a point to where it was severely stagnated. So we'll see what changes Kidd has in his bag to make for game three, but they have to come in game three. 2-0 is very dangerous. Going down 2-0 is dangerous. Going down 3-0 is you're at a point where pretty much everybody agrees that the series is over with, right? There's never been a point where a team was down 3-0 and we still thought this is a series, right? I think everybody writes the opposing team off when it's a 3-0 series lead. They need to get it going. And you have home court advantage, right? So you're kind of writing off the two things. One, home court advantage, and you're also writing off the fact that Kyrie may not play this bad again. But it's a maybe because, like I said, the thing that's making him play this bad is not just him screwing up, even though he's missed a couple of uncharacteristic shots that he usually make. It's what they're doing defensively. It's the defensive personnel, Jaylen Brown, Jrue Holiday, and Derrick White. Those guys are big, physical, lengthy defenders for that position, and putting them on to Kyrie and throwing those bodies at him, it's a challenge. So they have a lot to figure out from a defensive perspective and also an offensive perspective, but they have got to get it going by game three or it's danger time. So it's not over yet. Series isn't done yet, but adjustments have got to be made. To me, at this point, it does fall on Kyrie, but I think with Kidd, there has to be something he installs from an offensive standpoint to better optimize his guys. Because what we're seeing right now, this one-on-one, one-and-done style is just not going to work. It's not going to be, enough for them to try to knock off this Celtics team and knock off 4 wins against them. It's not going to be enough. So we'll see what ends up happening. But the Mavericks have a ton of work to do come what can be a pivotal, game 3.